God. Yeah, the tribe of Judah.
And I believe they had one more of
collard greens
and the black eyed peas, of course. But then it was some superstition in Judahite houses about how you don't want a woman to come through your front door.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, it go right with the Janice.
A woman can't be the first one that comes to the door on New Year's Eve. Say again? Wait, break that down. I don't remember.
A woman wants, Salakia. A woman, I believe, wants a man to come through the door. Like a woman, she don't want another woman to come.
I got you.
Or she gonna be single for the next year.
Because I got you now. I get it now. The point is, all of that is nonsense. All right, and it's a superstition, sis. What do the Benjamites eat on? Is it a particular thing you eat, or you just eat curry goat and that's that? Go ahead. Say again. I understand. All of that is you worshiping the God of Christmas. What you should do on a Boxing Day is act like it's just another day. So it's a discipline. So now you might eat Benjamite food every day. And if you do, then eat Benjamite food that day. But what you want to do is just have the discipline to say, I'm getting up this day and it's just another day. I'm doing nothing different. So if you would eat Benjamite food every day, eat it today too. If you would clean every day, then clean it that day too. Just do whatever you would do if it wasn't the Christmas season. You get my point. All right. Or else you are eating from the idol of another god. Keep going. Whoever has it.
Qadr Khan, verse 19. What say I then? That the idol is anything, or that which is...
One second. What am I saying then? Am I saying the idol is anything? If I tell you not to eat the food offered to an idol, is that because I believe the idol exists? Am I saying that the idol is anything? Keep going.
Qadr Khan. Or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything?
Am I saying that the food you sacrifice to idols is anything other than just being food? Continue.
Qadr Khan. Would I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils?
The Gentiles he's speaking about are actual Gentiles, are other nations, because he's talking to real Israelites. And he's telling these real Israelites, when you see these Gentiles, these other nations sacrificing, they're sacrificing to demons because their gods don't even exist.
Right.
So there's no God of Christmas and Father of Christmas, and there's no white Jesus, and there's no, all these other gods that they worship, they don't even exist. So when you are sacrificing to one, you're actually sacrificing to a demon, because the God that they're saying they're sacrificing to is not real at all. Everybody gets that enough, right? Does that answer your question, sis? Go ahead.
Because he says, give none offense neither to the Jews nor to the Gentiles. So is that the Gentiles?
Is that farther down?
Yes, so lucky it's 32.
Brother, we'll go farther down. I'll bring it down for you. How much farther down is it? Is it a lot farther down or close? Okay, where are we at now?
20, sir.
20?
Sir.
Okay, so let me see how far I can go down for you. Okay, skip down 5 verses. That might do it. Go ahead.
Qadr Khan. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 25. Whatsoever is sold in the shambles that eat, asking no questions.
Does everybody understand that? That's about just, buying food and not worrying about where the food comes from, whether it's from a stove that is clean or unclean because you're out teaching. That's kind of off the topic, but you get the point. Go ahead.
Qadr Khan. Asking no questions for conscience sake.
Go ahead.
For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
Keep going.
Qadr Khan. if any of them that believe not bid you to a feast, and
I'll
ye
skip
be
down 2
disposed
more
to
verses. This is all about going out and teaching. It's how you go out and teach, what you don't have to be worried about and afraid of, the things that will make you stay at home if you're afraid of these things. The Most High is saying to go out because he's in charge of everything. So just get out there and go travel and teach. Continue.
God. Whatsoever is set before you, eat, asking no questions for conscience sake.
So once again, if you're out teaching, you're going to be given food. You don't want to be squeamish about the food. Black people, like in the Bible, were very squeamish about cleanliness. You read about this when Christ was on the scene, and they talked about washing the pots and washing the pans and washing their hands. This scripture is about that, because Israelites were extremely, squeamish about people washing their hands when they cooked. They were going to kill Christ because he didn't wash his hands. That's in the Bible. And this is what this is speaking about. So you're being invited into another city, to someone's home. You're not from there. You're there to teach. Don't say, well, who did you wash your hands? Don't do that, because you'll offend that person. Everyone understands. Continue.
Khan. But if any man say unto you, this is offered in sacrifice unto idols, eat not for his sake that shewed it.
You get that, sister, right? Keep going.
Khan. And for conscience sake.
There you go. Keep going.
Khan. For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof.
Why is the Most High saying that again? For the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. He's saying that to make sure you know who does not control the earth. That idol does not control the earth. The earth is controlled by the Most High, not the idol of Christmas or Halloween or blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That idol doesn't exist.
Right.
The earth belongs to the Most High. Continue.
Khan. Conscience, I say, not thine own, but of the other. For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience?
What verse is your question in? What verse are we in now?
29, sir.
Okay, keep going.
Khan.
This is Paul chastising the people who will say he's wrong for telling his men, don't worry about whether or not they wash their hands. Don't do that. Don't be rude. People will think he's evil because Israelites invented cleanliness and hygiene. And you read about this in the New Testament, and he's telling his men, don't worry about that. If you're in the house, man, don't question them about washing their hands. Man. Thank them for giving you food, because you're in this city to teach. There'll be some that would think I'm wrong for saying this. Read that part again.
Khan. Conscience, I say, not thine own, but of the other. For why is my liberty judged of another man's conscience?
Meaning, why are you upset that I'm telling my men that they're free to eat the food without asking who washed this, were the pots washed, were your hands washed? Why are you worried about the liberty that I'm having? Continue.
Khan. For if I by grace be a partaker, why am I evil spoken of for that for which I give thanks?
If I by grace am a partaker, partaking in what? Food. I'm partaking in food by grace. The Most High has given me this food. I'm traveling in this strange city. Someone has cooked this food for me. If I'm partaking of this food by grace, read that part again.
Khan. For I by grace be a partaker. Why am I evil spoken of?
Then why are you speaking evil about me? I appreciate it. Why am I evil spoken of? Because once again, you'll read when you go to the New Testament. In the first books of the New Testament, they were going to kill them over that, over washing pots and washing dishes and washing hands. And Christ said, inwardly you are like a sepulcher. You are full of dead bones, and you may clean the outside of the cup. You clean the outside, but inwardly you're full of bones. You're like a grave. That is about this, because they were, super fastidious and clean, the way Black people are today, almost, about making sure that you wash your hands and clean up everything. And like I believe that's what Rashak is saying the custom is about, right? And making sure everything is super clean, very clean. Israelites were like that 2,000 years ago. Now, once again, there were a lot of plagues around back then, so I can get where it came from. But of course, they got religious about it. Keep going.
Cardamom Khan. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do all to the glory of God.
You get that, sister, correct? You get that? Keep going.
Cardamom Khan. Give none offense, neither of the Jews, nor to the Gentiles.
Who are the Jews and who are the Gentiles? All right here. Now, I just read all this for you to answer it. Who are the Jews? Who are the Gentiles? No. The Gentiles are the Israelites who behave like Gentiles. The Jews are the Israelites who behave like Israelites. You get my point? There's an Israelite that behaves like an Israelite, and he is considered a Jew, General Football.
So Paul was going into those cities and teaching those brothers that were coming back into being, they were Gentiles,
Yes.
but they were Israelites. So he was going to them or what have you, and so whether or not they be from Israel and be, you know, in the family, in the nation, hadn't been cast off, or they was under Paul and being brought back into the nation, they still had these hangups about washing and cleaning and things of that nature. And he's saying, don't worry about that.
What you need, sisters, you just need Romans 11:1, where Paul said he was of the tribe of Benjamin. And you need where Paul said, I am the apostle of the Gentiles. And for I seek to convince them of whom flesh I am. That's right there. There are certain Gentiles in the New Testament that are actual Gentiles, and you just need the context to know which one. The context here is there are Israelites they keep the law, right? And then there are Israelites who don't. They keep the law of the nations around about them. Right. That's the Jew and the Gentile. That's it. Right here, all of these people are Israelites. One Israelite acts like one, the other Israelite acts like a heathen. You get the point. If you need those two precepts, I can give it to you. Give me, I'm the apostle of the Gentiles. Let's start with Romans 11:1 with Paul.
Cardamom Khan, the book of Romans, chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid.
God forbid. Have God cast away his people which he foreknew? Is that right there? Read it one more time.
Cardamom Khan. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid.
God forbid. Have God thrown away his people? No, he did not throw away his people. That's what the Christians want you to believe. That God doesn't have a people anymore. He has all people. He loves all people, which would mean he threw away his people. If you have a child in your house, and then you go to your child and say, listen, everyone is my daughter. And what would your daughter say? Why? Because she's your daughter. So your daughter will go, whoa, everybody's your daughter. What the hell are you talking about? I can't just feed you, baby. I got to feed everyone on the planet. I got to feed everyone. So now I was giving you a plate of food. Now I'm going to give you 1 grain of rice because I have to feed everyone because everyone's my daughter. It's an insult to your daughter. You understand? God forbid. He would never throw away his people. He would never accept all people because of how it would hurt his people. God forbid. Continue.
Cardamom Khan. For I also am an Israelite.
That's what Paul said. Paul said, I'm also am an Israelite. Keep going.
Cardamom Khan. Of the seed of Abraham.
The seed of Abraham is Isaac. Go ahead.
Cardamom Khan. Of the tribe of Benjamin.
The specific tribe is the tribe of Benjamin. He came out of Israel's son, Benjamin. Which tribe you are? The tribe of Benjamin, the chosen people of God. Here suffering and dying in Great Britain. Right. Paul was a Benjamite. Paul was what you would call today a so-called West Indian. Now give me what he said about the Gentiles.
Cardamom Khan, verse 13. For I speak to you, Gentiles, inasmuch
I speak to what?
For I speak to you, Gentiles.
Listen carefully. I speak to you, Gentiles. Keep going.
Kadawan Khan, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the
In
Gentiles.
as much as that I am the apostle of the Gentiles. What does that mean? I'm the apostle of the British, of the Americans, meaning I'm one of you. I'm of this place, which means I'm one of you. I'm of it. I come from it. I'm the apostle of the Gentiles. Keep going.
Kadawan Khan, I magnify mine office.
Listen carefully. I magnify my office. He's the apostle of the Gentiles. He magnifies his office. What does magnify mean? He makes his office large. He makes it big so you can see it. He goes out on the street. He's on the internet. He's not hiding. He's not being shy and bashful. He's magnifying his office for what purpose? Keep going.
Kadawan Khan, if by any means.
Listen carefully, Benjamites. If by any means, what does that mean? If by any way, if there's any possible way, keep going.
Kadawan Khan, I may provoke to emulation.
Emulation, to emulate someone, that's when you make them want to be like you. If you emulate me, you will act like me. Paul said, if I by any means may cause to emulation, that they might want to be like me. Continue.
Kadawan Khan, them which are my flesh.
Them which are my what?
Them which are my flesh.
Them which are my what?
Them which are my flesh.
What people were the flesh of Paul, sister? How do I know? Say again. That's what we read earlier. From the seed of Abraham, from the tribe of Benjamin. Teaching who? He is the apostle of who? He's an apostle of the Gentiles. And he magnifies his office if by any way he can cause them to emulate him who are of his flesh. Who was of the flesh of Paul? Who was of the flesh of Paul? Right here. The Gentiles were of the flesh of Paul. If I by any means I may cause them to emulation, them which are my flesh. I'm the apostle of the Gentiles, which means the Gentiles are the same flesh as Paul. You understand? I'm the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify my office so that I might cause them to emulate me, which are of my flesh. His office is what? The apostle of the Gentiles. That's his office. It says it right here. His office is being the apostle of the Gentiles. The Gentiles are his flesh. I just read it just now. Right. Read the last part again.
Kadawan Khan, by any
So many of them, like you look at him and you're like, man, he's weak. I hear you up. I mean, that's, I hear you calling him weak, but he really is just trying to not be hung, because he's going to get hung if he does the smallest thing that threatens someone from the oppressors. He is getting hung, his town is getting wiped out. And if you want to go research what happens to towns who have one rebellious Negro, like one of them, those towns get obliterated. They disappear from the face of the earth. They burn these towns to the ground because one brother stood up and held his chin up high and looked the white man in the eye. And the town is gone. The town gets burned and erased from history. And you could put this in the internet. So someone who gave some money to somebody in Britain, listen, I can dig it. Now, I can certainly understand it. We will do something greater than them. Greater than them. Continue.
Would you say he made a political move, or the leadership and them?
Yeah, absolutely, it's political. Otherwise known as trying to not get burned and killed and hung. Right, because he gets hung if he doesn't do it. Go ahead.
I've heard the story about Captain Howard and his people, how they stood up to the evil they had to run for their lives or what have you. Ended up in Chicago.
All over the place, man. It's everywhere. I'm sure it's all through British history. Someone that tried to, have some integrity, tried to step up for their people, and they get their heads chopped off. Everybody gets it. Mashak, someone want to say anything? Go ahead. Let me get this last one. Go ahead.
Sister Ryan, First Timothy. Can I get a breakdown on First Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 5?
Go ahead, read it. Any questions from in the room? I'll be doing some councils with the time we have allotted in the back. All right. If you need us, the rest of the generals will be in the back. Go ahead. I'll take the last question.
God one can. Book of 1 Timothy, chapter 1 and verse 5. Now the end of the commandment is charity out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned.
Read one verse above it.
God one can. Verse 4. Neither give heed to fables and
One more verse above it.
God one can. Verse 3. As I besought thee to abide still at Ephesus when I went into Macedonia, that thou mightest charge some that they teach no other doctrine.
So this is once again Paul speaking, and he's charging them that they teach no other doctrine. You officers in the UPK, you're charged with this same order today. Right. You are never allowed to teach another doctrine. Does everyone understand? That's a law in the Bible, and you took an oath to do such. You took an oath to never teach another doctrine. Paul charged them with the same oath. Continue.
Khan. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies.
Neither give heed to fables. What is a fable? Mary never had sex when she made the whitest, sweetest baby Jesus. He was so blue-eyed, so white. He clearly was God's favorite son. That is a fable. It's a nursery rhyme. It's something to tell children because children can't learn about sex, S-E-X. You can't teach kids about sex. So, of course, you tell the babies, where did baby Jesus come from? From the stork. Did they say that over here, the stork? Y'all have that? In America, they would tell the kids the storks made the baby. The baby would say, where my sister comes from? The stork brought your baby sister. The mailman, the stork dropped him off. That was a lie going on, I think, till the 50s or 70s. I remember it, I think, as a kid. Y'all too young to remember the stork. Who knows what the hell I'm talking about with the stork? Oh, my God, House, we old. Oh, nobody know what the hell I'm talking about. Well, let me tell you, when we were kids, they used to tell kids that when someone had a baby, the stork brought the baby. A stork is a big old bird. And they would say to them, give me a picture of the stork. Yeah, like a pelican. And they would say, So because of course a kid is asking, you know, how did mommy get pregnant? And they would say the stork brought the baby. The baby, where did this baby come from? The stork dropped the baby off at the house. That was, I'm telling you, that was a prevalent belief of children, like the tooth fairy. And so if the baby came home, the mommy came home from the hospital with a baby, and the kid was told that a stork brought the baby home. I am not making this up. This was everywhere, this belief. Well, they did the same thing with the birth of Jesus. How did Jesus get born? God planted the seed in Mary. God did it. It was immaculate, clean, not dirty like what your daddy wants to do. Your daddy wants to make babies the dirty way. This baby came the clean way. God just used heat magic and he put the baby in mommy. Yay! Stop being such an effing child all the time. Don't do that. Don't believe in fables. It's an old nonsense story like the stork. It's that God used his magic to plant the seed in Mary. Come on. Yeah, that's where it comes from Greek mythology, from Perseus and 1,000 other gods that Zeus would dress up in a cloak and go sneak into some woman's tent and impregnate the woman, and now she's pregnant by the god Zeus. You can just look this up. Paul charged his men to never change the doctrine and to stop believing in fables like that. Continue.
Khan 1 Khan, verse 5.
Come on.
Not to mention the adultery, that's tithing, because the stork is not a man.
Yeah. So right. So then the stork ain't a man. So now your mother could be such a hoe and a whore. Do y'all say hoe over here? What do you use? You don't use the word hoe. That's too undignified. What are you, a harlot? What do you say? You look like you say harlot. Wench. I like that. You're a wench. Well, your mother is not a wench. A stork gave her the baby. Keep going.
Khan 1 Khan. Now the end of the commandment is charity.
Out of the end of the commandment. Charity. What is charity? Who knows? Love. Love is what all this is built on. Listen, saying that our oppressor is the devil, that is built in love. Saying that he's not the devil, that's hateful. It's cruel to his victims. You would never want a court system that let guilty people go free and didn't give justice to the victim.
Right.
You want a court system that punishes people who harm children and who unalive people. You don't want a court system that says, well, I don't care how many children you unalive, you can go home, Jesus loves you. You would know that that's a cruel court system, a court system that doesn't give justice to the victim. Well, God gives justice to the victim. Right. All of this is built in love.
That's right.
It's built in love for Abel, built in love for him, built in love for the Benjamites, for the West Indians, for the descendants and the survivors of Windrush. It's built in love for you. Continue.
Khan 1 Khan. Now the end of the commandment is charity out of pure heart.
Out of a pure heart, man. That's what keeps brothers and sisters in the truth. Having a pure heart. What's the opposite of having a pure heart? A heart that's full of lust and gain and, deception. Can you imagine becoming another? I think about it today. Here I am in the Israelite school of I.S.U.P.K. under Commanding General Yahanna. And I am a soldier in God's army, forging a path for people to be free from lies. If I leave the truth and I teach that Mary didn't have sex and God loves all people, I am then become just like every preacher who has hurt my people. I'm the same as them. And I'm just like everyone we're talking about tonight. I'm just like Queen Elizabeth. I'm just like King Charles. What does King Charles believe? Anyone want to answer? They have a church. He's the head of the Church of England, isn't he? Well, what does he believe about the Immaculate Conception? King Charles. Who wants to give me the answer? No one knows? He's the Pope. He is the head of the Church of England. What is his belief on race? What is his belief on who Jesus Christ died for? Huh? He believes the same thing that 2.8 billion people believe. If I leave the truth, I become what? In league with King Charles? I'm one of him. I'm one of the Queen of England. I'm one of Queen Elizabeth. I'm just like them. We're in the same religion. We believe the same thing. No, I'm nothing like them. My grandmother would be insulted by it. My grandfather would take it as an insult. For them, I can't do that. Everyone understands. Continue.
Now the end of the commandment of charity out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned.
Faith unfeigned, what does that mean? What does the word feign mean? It means weak. Like to feign, to fall out, or to fall weak. Faith that does not weaken. That's the faith we have in here. That's the faith you took an oath to have. And please believe there is always someone that will keep their faith. Always. Paul said there are 7,000 men that have not bent the knee to Baal. There is always someone that will honor their oath. Always has been, always will be. I pray you understand. Anything else? You good to go here? With that, who's taking class? Who's the guard? With that, pass the class over to police officer Shumgar.
UK, get yourselves ready for Commanding General Yahanna and the generals of the I.S.U.P.K will be hosting a monster week across the United Kingdom for the 2023 Feast of Tabernacles. Thursday, September 28th, 7 p.m., 12 Shield Gen.Mahayaman Scripture Breakdown class live from Edinburgh, Scotland. Friday, September 29th, tour of King James Castle, Johnny Walker Factory Tour, 8 p.m., I.S.U.P.K, opening of the Feast of Tabernacles, hosted by 13 Shield Commanding General Yahanna from Edinburgh, Scotland. Saturday, September 30th, 12 noon, street speaking, Bull Ring, Birmingham, 6 p.m., street party and barbecue at I.S.U.P.K United Kingdom, 10 p.m., nightlife, Club Republic in Leicester, special guest performance by 144, The Rebel. Sunday, October 1st, 12 noon, street speaking in Central London, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, London Tour and boat ride. Monday, October 2nd, 10 a.m. Let a Hebrew speak live with 12 Shield General Yahanna, 7 p.m. English Scripture Breakdown in King's Standing, Birmingham with 12 Shield General Yahanna, 9 p.m. Black Watch live with Commanding General Yahanna. Tuesday, October 3rd, 10 a.m. Shakespeare Theater and Warwickshire Castle Tour. For more info, call 44-7960-746-784.
I'll be booking them like